competing for over 20 years in the NPC, IFBB, and you know, being a bodybuilder obviously is a little different from what these girls do. I don't really, when we walk out on stage, we just walk out there, you know, confident. And that's the most thing I think is important about being a bodybuilder is, you know, you have to have the confidence. Obviously, it's a diet phase you go through. I usually recommend at least 4 months for training for a competition to diet down and attain the leanest physique possible. And obviously the judging standards, which Steve will talk about, you know, we're judged obviously on symmetry, muscularity, definition, a whole combination of things. But, you know, we have 7 mandatory poses that we go through in the pre-judge, and of course, you know, the posing routines at night, and of course the final pose down, which we all get judged on. But trying to be in that winner circle, it demands obviously a combination of all those things, which I think genetics plays a certain part of it. But I just want to say for everyone here, I was very nervous to compete the first time. I did my first competition at 18 years old, and I started training at 18. I did my first contest about 6 months after I started training. And for me, to get on stage in like small posing trunks and in front of a crowd, I was really nervous about that. So I can understand where a lot of you new competitors coming in might be nervous about that, but we all go through that. I'm sure these guys went through the same thing. And for me, I never thought in the beginning I would attain the level that I have, and that's the most important thing is, you know, you don't make your way all of a sudden to the top. You have to, you know, work your way through channels and do, you know, competitions. Obviously the NPC was the way to go at the time because I wanted to be a big star in bodybuilding, but that was of course everyone's goal, but it doesn't necessarily, you can't aim for the total top, and of course Mr. Olympia was never in my expectations at the time. So for me, I was a rather large build, which everyone always said to me in high school. They said, "Do you lift weights?" And I said, "No, I grew up on a farm." So I had a pretty good physique, so everyone kind of coached me into competing and getting up on stage, but I really didn't know much about it. And as soon as I started training, I fell in love obviously with the gym, and then getting on the competition stage was a whole nother thing, and learning the diet techniques. And I think that was the hardest part, to be able to maintain muscle mass and be able to, you know, gain that condition at the same time. So for me, you know, going through the cardio training, which, you know, I'll do twice a day for a competition, and of course the diet phase where I eat every 2.5 to 3 hours, that's the most important part, you know, the food consumption. Obviously you guys know a lot about that, and it's the consistency. And I always tell everyone, you know, you treat your gym like you treat your diet. I mean, you go to the gym at least 5 days a week, and your diet has to be, you know, fueled enough to fuel those workouts, and of course be able to maintain the physique consistently. So the diet is very important for the guys, especially if you're trying to maintain the muscle and the consistency, and you should get better in time as you continue to go. But most importantly, you know, getting on that competition stage and having the right tan, you know, having the body shaved down, and of course, you know, showing the best physique with confidence, getting out there, learning those mandatory poses, which, you know, I'll stand in front of a mirror early on to see how my physique looks the best. And of course, I take the mirror away. I have people help me with those mandatory, calling through the poses, holding the poses for, you know, at least 10 seconds, and of course going through the transitions. It's very, very important because you're judged on how you present your physique. And a lot of times you'll see guys up on stage and they get up there and they're shaking when they get up there, and, you know, they're not going through the poses right, and they're going through too fast. You have to be relaxed, and you have to be able to go through all that stuff, and it takes a lot of practice to be able to do that. You can't just expect, okay, I'm going to go up there, I know the poses. You really have to practice those, so that comes along with your training, with your diet, and everything that you do. But, you know, as a bodybuilder, and of course through the experience of years, you know, this isn't something that you just necessarily focus just 4 months out from a show, you know, I'm going to start doing this. You have to dedicate yourself year-round to doing all these kind of things. If you're going to be in competition, you need to watch your physique and, of course, work on your balance. And everyone has weak body parts. I mean, in the beginning when I started training, I had really big legs, but a smaller upper body. So for me, you know, I had to work other body parts more to create that balance. And of course, you know, when we stand on stage, obviously you want the cap shoulders, you know, with the taper, you know, the wide back, and the flaring quads, and the condition. And the condition is very, very key. And I think a lot of guys think when they go up to a show, they need to be the biggest guy. But when Steve talks a little bit what they judge on, I mean, a lot of it is conditioning. So you have to focus on being in shape. And of course, that means body fat levels low. Obviously, the water consumption has to be low before going up on stage and create that crazy, crazy condition. So for me, it came a little difficult to gain that condition, and obviously anyone that's followed my career knows that some shows I'm better, some shows I didn't look as good. Obviously winning the Mr. Olympia, you know, I won that title, I've lost it, I've been second, I've been 15th, I was second to last in my first Mr. Olympia. That's the pinnacle of obviously what we try to do, and I know these girls talked about getting to the top, and I stand in front of you guys and I have been at the top of what I do, and I still train exactly the way I trained in the very beginning. You know, the basic movements, and you don't have to do, just because you're looking at me standing up here and I have all these various titles, doesn't mean that I train any different than a lot of you guys. I mean, it's just basic training, dieting techniques. I can't stress the food enough. I mean, you have to take in enough protein, carbohydrates. You know, you have to deal with just eating. I mean, we all hate to eat sometimes plain chicken breasts, and you know, I diet a lot of fish for competitions, but you have to do that stuff to be able to maintain the body that you want to be the best. So I see you guys standing in the back. I know this doesn't attain as much to the ladies, but all you guys